Start recording.
Okay, should we start?
Yeah, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you. Okay, guys, I'll take you through the start. And so we'll have a couple of slides before we start, but it's not going to be a lot of slides. It's not going to be like just us talking all the time. It's going to be mostly about you coding and us coding together. And like I think the most popular format and how we do it in Hack Your Future is that like some of us is sharing our screen and does some coding, and everybody try to follow along, and then we kind of have exercises on the way. And, yeah, and of course, please, at any point of time, please ask questions and don't even hesitate if you have something that you don't understand. And if you don't want to, you know, when you need to ask something but you don't want to break the flow of the class or don't want to distract the teacher, just ask another teacher, because usually we are like more than one, and one is talking and another one can in the same time kind of go around and help you with your computer. And please never ever hesitate to ask, because I think the worst thing that can happen is that you get kind of stuck in somewhere in the middle and then you cannot really follow along, and then it becomes really hard and you lose all the interest. So let's just not let it happen, and because this is completely safe environment to do that. So we will start with the very very basic thing is the introduction to HTML and CSS today. And since we are covering, like, we know that there are people with, as we already saw, with you all have different backgrounds, and some of you actually already worked in IT and such, and some of you have technical backgrounds. So maybe if we just can do it quickly, if you could just raise your hands, people who already did some coding in their life, like wrote a line of JavaScript or Bash script or, you know, like HTML, like some who already did that. So about like half of the people have some kind of experience, right? And so sorry, but we will still cover like all the basics and we will go real slow, but also, yeah, just follow along. And this is our short, very like brief description of what's going to happen in the next 3 weeks. So I think you all got a link to pre-reading material, which you can also, yeah, of course, revisit and take a look again. And so today we will cover the basic of HTML and CSS. So actually by the end of this week you will be able to create your own web page with, you know, all shiny and nice that you can already show to somebody. And then we will come to a little bit further with that, and we will finish also showing you how you can debug, what developers actually use in their work to see what went wrong and such. And then we will end with like some recap, and also you'll be working a little bit on your first small project. So yeah, that's basically what we're going to cover today. And this is like, there are like two main topics, HTML and CSS. So this is like three way, like the web consists of web pages, and it's like the three main things that they're made of is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And so if we just try to describe in one word what they're doing, is kind of, you could say that maybe HTML gives you the structure of the page, and CSS gives you the presentation of the structure, and JavaScript gives you the logic of how the web should behave. But they will all come together in a little while. So we will start with learning the basic of HTML. And so what it is, like the abbreviation is Hypertext Markup Language, which is not that important, I think, to remember right now. But the point is that it's not, in fact, the programming language, it's a markup language. So it actually is not kind of defines you how the page should behave, but it's like what it kind of consists of, what kind of blocks and what kind of structure it has. And it was designed in a way that obviously it's readable by a human, so because humans write it and they're supposed to be able to write it, but it is also has a very this particular structure, so the machine, like the browser, can kind of read this page and understand what's happening and to show it right. And with that in mind, you're ready to do your first exercise, so I think that's something we will do together. I can use a computer.
Yeah, sure, you can do that.
Yes, so I think we will start. So this is basically the first HTML page. It's like a very minimal thing you must have on your HTML page, and we will go through it line by line. But I think we will start with actually getting our text editor in place. So I think like what we will start working in, it's called Sublime Text. So it's like let's find it here.
Can I zoom a bit here?
Yes.
Command plus.
Yeah, Command plus.
Okay.
Yes. So this is can you please all Google Sublime Text and install it if you don't have it?
Can we use Visual Studio?
Yes.
Yes.
So if you already have installed some editor or
Yeah.
IDEs, you're just fine.
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
do anything.
So anybody who doesn't have editor installed yet, or everybody already have something?
So we don't do that.
Atom, good. Good. Anybody else? Okay, I think so. You all set in terms of the text.
Who doesn't have? Please raise your hand so I can help. Who doesn't have the IDE or anything installed? You.
Good.
Only you.
Okay.
Or because of the machine you have.
Okay, you also don't have it. Okay. You also don't have it. Yes. Okay. So if you don't have anything, you can try and go to download something for your computer. You have Windows, right? So.
Yeah, it's for now for business.
Let's just take 2 minutes so we can help everybody.
Oh, it's open.
Yes.
You just need to write this in
Ah, it's good. Oh, sorry. Just close that and download the one for you. And okay, so you need to use the network.
It's Ubuntu, so it's
Yeah, maybe 8.
It's not been installed for some stuff like this and kind of.
Do you have no preference?
You
want some?
Okay, it's
This
actually
is
not.
password, admin password for me.
It's like,
It's just one
if you don't care, then okay, you don't care. Let's get VS Code.
Okay.
You know, like when you update things, it's a description, but
Okay, so yes. So maybe
sorry.
so VS Code. Can you please? So I think it's better if you go to Visual Studio Code. Can you please take Visual Studio?
Most companies also work with Visual Studio Code and VS Code. It's nice to get used to that. It's really,
Okay, yes.
people say it as one of the
Install
biggest competitions, so most of this.
Yes. So it's
You know the password?
Yeah.
Very simple.
can you please let me this one? So that's just the text editor that we're going to use, just like you would use Word for typing text documents. But the thing is why such a special program is because it's going to do like code highlights, and also in Visual Studio comes with many features that are good for development. So for example, when you like hover over some line, it will show you what the element is and like give you some additional benefits of them. So it's just very good for this particular kind of text.
Do you know
You.
Do you have an instrument?
Do you insist on using something that
can use not add,
or for the IDE, just use VS Code.
Yeah, so VS Code is also,
It
yes.
it already is. Or is it on which?
Have you downloaded
VS Code.
yeah, I've saved it.
Yes.
Yeah. some of them were already put on.
But anyway, if you have a notepad or anything, text editor, it
Yeah,
should do.
so by this moment it wouldn't be like extremely important to use a special editor, so I think we can continue now. Yes, with the yes. So may use English layout. Are you do you have like English layout or the because it could be a little bit slow for me with typing. Okay, maybe I can manage again. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Are you how then? Okay. So yeah, if you still have troubles with installing, you can just open like any text editor you have. And
Hey guys,
just
I got
go
an
like
actually
that.
question. I know that
Yeah.
name is a personal thing, but usually which text editor do you use as
Okay,
professional?
like I use usually in my work I use something that is come from JetBrains company. It's called PyCharm because it's for Python language, and they also have WebStorm, which is their own thing for web development. And the reason I use it the point is that it is a licensed software, so it doesn't come for free with all its everything it has. And our company kind of pays this license, so we can use that. That's my thing. What do
Or you
use?
can say for a hacker feature or any open source, VS Code is the recommended one.
Yeah.
Official, non-official doesn't matter, but VS Code is free and it's very powerful. It's similar to they mentioned JetBrains, IntelliJ or Strong. Close. Pretty
It's
close.
supported by Microsoft?
Yes, it is Microsoft. Yes.
How come it's free then?
It's the first time ever, I guess. Microsoft offers something free.
They'll start charging money for it as soon as everyone uses it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Surprise!
exactly. Okay, so I think
Are you all set for the exercise now?
yeah, everybody have opened
Anything you
some
want, yeah.
kind of editor. I think we can start
Yeah.
then.
Let's do that.
Okay, let's do that. So the first thing we need to tell because you remember like the file that we are typing now is something that our browser will read, and because of that we have many restrictions like that we need to follow. So for example, first thing we would do is me learning Danish layout, but the next thing we will do is we will tell our browser that this is actually we will sorry, I forgot that the type of the document that we are working with is in fact HTML. So that's kind of a little bit of a leftover from the old times, but that's just something that we would tell it. And then this is the first line. It also has this particular structure. So all this kind of special words that we will use for our browsers are enclosed in this brackets, these types of brackets, and they call tags. And so another tag that we will do is actually its HTML tag. And as you can see, like we already see some benefits of using the actual, like not just any text editor, but just like developers, like special text editor for developers, because it already gives you some kind of clue of what you can use. And I just started to type HT, and it has the list of tags that you could use, and then it just gives you this autocomplete thing. So I just going to type in HTML, and this is called the opening tag. So the thing that you write first in the Yes. So all the text has very particular structure, so that they start with an opening tag, which with the special word in it, and then they close with the closing tag. The closing tag is the same as opening tag, but it has this kind of slash in the end, in the beginning. And it doesn't matter, like usually, like for the reason of like machine readability, it doesn't matter if this how many spaces or breaks or like line breaks you have in between text. It can be anything. So you can, like, it is theoretically possible to write your whole page in one line, and browser will still understand that. But for the reason of, like, because it still needs to be human readable as well, we don't do that. So we usually kind of do this indentations and try to keep the nice readable structure and try not to keep our lines too long. And that's very important to remember already right now, because after that it's going to get like while your programs will get bigger and bigger, it will be harder and harder to keep track of them. And so that's why it's important to learn this good practice as early as possible in your career. So after that, like other two important things that we will have in our HTML page is this header, and this is, so you can see it's also a tag which is called head, and then I'm just going to kind of copy paste and paste it here, but this is going to be body tag. So those are two main things that you need to have in your page. And the head would actually give you some kind of meta information or something that is actually on the page, but has all these other important things that we're going to show later. And body is it contains everything that will actually be shown on the page. And so the first thing that we will have in our head is title, which you also saw on the every web page that you visit. Okay, and so you can give it any title you want. So you could see that now I actually typed something in between two tags. So, and another thing that is very important to learn about all the tags is nesting. So you could see that I didn't cross tag anything. So we have this big like kind of parent tag, which is like HTML tag, which is like a placeholder for everything we're going to do. Then we have this like kind of children tags, like body and head, which are like all needs to be inside its parent tag. So for example, if I try to do like that and try to do it, so you could see that I opened it inside the HTML nest and I closed it outside HTML nest. And this is wrong. So that would be kind of a malfunction structure, because that's violates the rules of HTML. So they all needs to be all together. And then we can have another child in, and as many as you want. And so actually if here we will type hello world as like the first program that you will get in any language, and actually like that, this is a complete HTML page. This is something we're going now to see in our browser. So in order to see what we just did in our browser, we just saved this file in somewhere. So please, so you just press like Command Save and try to create a, you can create, I'm going to go to Documents and create a new folder for our class, and just save this file there and give it a name, like I will call it, so the very like common way to name like your main file in some project, it would be index or main or something like that. But index is actually, it's a pretty common name of saving HTML files. And I actually don't remember if can I give it just an extension .html where
Yes,
it will be.
But can you save in the text?
Okay, sure.
You can navigate.
Yes. So I'm, yes.
Yeah, you can call it in
.html. So it'll just give it also the, it'll give your computer also a clue of what it is. And I'm just going to save it on the desktop. And like you see some things happen. So we just, after we saved it as HTML, actually your text editor probably got a clue immediately about what this kind of file, and then it gave you all this nice hints about what's happening. And then you actually hover, if you use Visual Studio Code, and you actually hover over the code, and then you can see the description of what it is. And that is actually really, really helpful, especially in the beginning. So you see there is quite a long description for title, which is not as, it's not as simple as it could show. But actually now we can go to the desktop. How can we go to the desktop?
Finder.
Yes. Sorry.
Finder.
Yes, yeah. Here it is. So we can go to the desktop, and you can find your index.html and just double click on it. And this is, I'm not sure if you can see it right, but I'm just zoom it a little bit, and the browser will get an ID and it will show you your file. So this is actually your first HTML page. So please raise your hands who didn't get the same result now. Everybody have you have?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, yes. Awesome. So does anybody have questions so far? And anybody like stopped on any point of that? Okay. I think it means yes.
I do have a small one.
Sure,
I can
sure.
see that in your Visual Basic you have like the indentation, you have small points.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
I don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to.
It is the why indentation has those small points. What it actually means, it's just the space signs. So basically, I just pressed tab. So this thing is that this is a Visual Studio Code software that runs on a bit computer, and he set it up in a way that first of all, when you press tab, the space it'll be 4 spaces.
It's by default because I
It's
don't
not
see the
by
No,
default.
it's a preference. You
It's a
can
preference.
go
Yes.
to settings and then
Yes.
choose the style.
So I believe that if you just go to prep, it's gonna be that, but it's not by default. But it actually helps, I think. So that's a good thing to do. So, yes. Anybody else has a question or a problem with the page or something else? Okay, I think we are good. So, all right. So let's continue with the like developing our page further. So you could see that actually our title was my first page, but our title is not now the part of the page. So our title is actually right there. So this is where it goes, and our body is like all here. So that's not sure how it can. Oh yes. Yes, so this is basically our text. And now we're going to learn three simple tags, which are just which will help us further. So I'm just going to delete this hello world text for now, and I'm going to also press enter so we can type in here. So you can see that I prefer to have all the children text should be intended like by kind of those 4 spaces further than that, because it's easier to read, because if it's all in kind of together, then it's not very easy to read. And I'm just going to introduce like 3 small tags, which are kind of the basic ones. So first of all, actually, you probably seen your Visual Studio Code that if you just start typing the tag, then it already gives you the autocomplete of what you can do. And what I'm going to do is just use some text, which is called bold, which is just going to give you the bold text. So, and just save it. Don't forget to save it, and then you can go to your page and update it, and then you would see that the text is now bold. And the next tag we'll do is the I, which is italic, and it'll be like that. And then we can save it also and refresh to see what's happened. So yes, so tags is something that if you enclose the piece of code or piece of text in the tag, so it's going to behave a particular way. And in this case, it's just made something bold and made something italic. And what we can also do, as you already seen this whole page structure, we can nest tags inside each other, and then kind of both of them will apply. So for example, now I'm going to do this U tag, and I'm just going to copy this little, like the ending tag, and put it here. So it's okay to do that because we are, because we just nested those two tags, so I cannot copy it actually in the middle of this line, like in the middle of like two tags, but I can enclose them all together. And you can see that I actually didn't put them all, like I didn't intend them as before, but it's still a valid code. So for such a small text, which are quite readable by themselves, it's not necessary to indent them all one by one, so it's enough to have them all in one line. And then I can also save that and to see what happens here, and the whole thing got underlined. So that's just, so it means, but you can see that it's still bold, it's still italic, and they both are underlined. So it means that all of them apply, like everything you do. And that is basically like right now, it is actually you already have some knowledge and some ability to manipulate the text, and that's actually the main principle by which you will build HTML page. So the HTML, like the full list of HTML tags is really, really long, and you will never learn them all by heart. I don't think anybody does, and it's absolutely not necessary. Like what's necessary is like how you search for its ability to find information, and usually you just usually like the developer, when they code, they actually Google a lot, like you, because it's impossible, like when you go on and learn more and more things, it's impossible to keep them all in your head. So you will have to Google it and have to find the information that you want. Okay, so should we have a 5 minutes break now, or we're good to go until?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yes, I think let's have 5 minutes break. Yes, and then we come back, and then we will work until lunch. Okay.